So why is more contaminated rubbish being sent for recycling ending up in landfill? Paul O'Brien can help us with that. He's the Chief Executive of the Association for Public Service Excellence. It advises councils across the UK on the best practice. Paul, welcome to you and yours. This data reveals that the amount being sent has almost doubled in 4 years, but it doesn't tell us why. Why has the amount that is being rejected by these recycling plants gone up by so much?
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 factors at play here. First of all, I would say that the market for recycling has fallen significantly. The prices that the material reclamation facilities get for the recycling has fallen. That's the first instance, and therefore they've tightened up the actual recycling that comes into them. Because
picking through it costs money, so it's not worth picking through it perhaps in the way they once did.
Yeah, I mean, okay. That's exactly, it's dropped that much, the money isn't in it anymore to do that. The second thing I would say is the material reclamation facilities regulations that come into play in 2014 have also tightened up the regulation within the material reclamation facility, the MRFs for short.
So it means they can let less stuff through, is that right?
That's it. And potentially a third factor within it as well is the tightening of budgets in England has impacted slightly on education programmes that local authorities have been running with the public, and that may be a factor also. But I think the primary factor is about the price dropping, and therefore the material reclamation facilities been less willing to take a percentage of contaminated.
If you look at the figures for contaminated recycling, the average across England revealed in this data is 3%. Yeah. In the worst places, it's around 14%. You could argue that's not too bad.
Well, we can always do better, first of all. I think, first of all, we should give ourselves a pat on the back. Councils and residents. I think if we look back to something like 2003, 2004, household recycling in England was something like 13%. We're now talking about something around about 44%.
Yes, we're all standing in the garden in the rain, sorting this stuff into crates.
Well, it's for everybody's benefit. This, I believe, but we have stalled the last couple of years. And if we're going to meet the target that was set of 50% household recycling by 2020, we need to reinvigorate this again.
How are we going to do that?
Well, there's a whole number of ways, but education, to get round about the contamination issue, education first of all is vitally important. The way we collect waste, the way we, moving more towards source segregation of the waste streams at the curbside, could help dramatically move that on. There's a lot of talk about food waste, and it's important now to look at how we separate food waste and get the maximum benefit from food waste, which would increase the recycling rate overall significantly, I believe.
Those questions that were asked right there at the start, the yoghurt pots, some local authorities will take it, the yoghurt pots, and some won't. People are very confused about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tolerance level of the particular material reclamation facility within that area, what they will accept from the council and what they won't, and therefore the local authority's got to play that through to the resident.
We're talking about recycling today because figures for BBC Breakfast reveal the amount of contaminated rubbish going from the recycling plants to the rubbish tips has risen sharply. Paul O'Brien's with us. He's the Chief Executive of the Association for Public Service Excellence. And Paul, today's research named the councils with the biggest problem, but Wales comes out really well. Why is that? Why are they so good at it?
I think in particular because the Welsh Government has incentivised Welsh authorities.
In what way? Because you just heard our last caller, didn't you? He's really fed up with it.
Yeah, well, finance, which has enabled them to put in place various education programmes to innovate in the way that they collect recycling as well. For example, there's a number of authorities in Wales that have adopted the trolley blocks system.
What's that?
Which is a sort of on wheels system with 6 drawers in it, for the recycling. So
it's a great big bin on wheels.
On wheels, yeah, but it's got 6 different
I've never seen
compartments to it. There's a number of them have adopted innovations like that. In England, it's been slightly different. It's been more the stick approach of landfill tax.
There's got to be a happy medium, hasn't there? Because if you make it difficult for people, do they just give up?
Well, arguably, but you know, when you're talking about Wales being at 55% now, and Scotland having put in place, you know, a segregation at the curbside in recent years as
Their
well.
figures are not so good, though, are they, in Scotland?
They're slightly better than England, is my understanding. You know, and going in the right direction. You know, in England, it's stalled the last 2 or 3 years, and that is the issue that we're really talking about, and we need to have some kind of game changer on that, I guess, now.
Those sort of things are, the lady was talking about economical, whether it's economical. It seems like those sort of things may be economical in Indian, Chinese or Sao Paulo, where children scatter the rubbish heaps to recycle this stuff. And the big issues here.
Okay,
I think there's responsibility of manufacturers of packaging to find some way of making less complex materials.
Victor, thank you. Paul O'Brien from the Association of Public Service Excellence, he's been bursting to make a point. If you could make it quickly.
It was just about that economic point. I think there was a recent report that suggested there's 615,000 tonnes going to landfill that doesn't necessarily need to go to landfill if we could recycle. That would save councils £60 million across the UK.